What's up, summoners? King Blair here. Today for Epic 7 Worth It, since we already did talk about all the different units and whether or not to pull for them in a separate video, we're actually going to be showcasing these units and some of the content that you would actually be using them for, so you get a good idea. And I'm actually going to be showing you two builds, since Luna is a unit that actually does have a variety of builds. Sadly for Tenebria, I don't have enough Molagora on her to actually make a proper showcase on her, so I would definitely not want you guys to feel like she's worse than she could potentially be. So we're first going to be starting with none other than Luna. The first build I'm going to be showing you guys is a Bruiser build that I'm trying to cook up for things like RTA primarily. I don't think this build is too great outside of RTA, although it still can do the PVE aspect of it. I actually do take her still with this into my PVE, since for the Fire Expedition you don't particularly need her to have all that speed, although the speed build would definitely be much better in the PVE aspect. The other build I will show you guys in a second will be for Guild Wars as well as cleaving in RTA or Arena, so it's a little bit more general, and I would go with the other build if you're trying to get something that's speedier and more aggressive. But if you do like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server, link down in the description. But with that, let's actually talk about this build, and then we'll talk about the speed build that's other for different content. So the idea behind the counter build is that you are trying to get a lot of advantage from countering as well as from her EE to get combat readiness. Now you may be wondering, why is she not on an immunity set? Well, the big reason is because I wanted the extra stats that a crit set has to offer, and you see that this boot would give, I could always change the defense for more crit, which I honestly might to give her the 100% crit, but essentially she wants to stick on the board. She does have a lot of tankiness because she's able to dodge crits potentially, right, which could be really good. And if she drops below 50% health, she gets a massive boost to her defense, making her significantly tankier, as well as having the Sigurd Scythe to heal back if she does happen to fall below that 50% threshold. So again, kind of playing like a Bruiser. And for as far as the no immunity, I realize I skipped completely over the explanation, but essentially I want the extra stats, as well as there's not that many units that can really stop your game plan, because even if you get provoked by Fallen Cecilia, which is one of the big reasons you actually may want it, if you get provoked by something like a Fallen Cecilia, you would still be able to come in and S1, right? So provokes are not that bad. You don't lose access to the S3, but honestly the S1 is really what you're looking for with Luna, since you're able to get this massive boost. The other thing is, for this build to work, you do need to pair her up with things like Ross and Cerise. They're going to help you to dual attack a lot in a fight. So that's the first build we'll showcase in RTA only, since that's where you can only really use it, and then we'll show the speed build in some Guild Wars and some other content. Alright, so in this game, we're actually taking Luna into an Angel of Light Angelica type team composition. The idea behind it is that Luna's S1 is actually quite potent, so we really do want to try to get the most out of that S1, since we're able to kill some of the squishy units with that S1 as the game goes on, as well as hopefully being able to survive a lot of the damage they throw our way. So that's the idea of me bringing her into this team time composition. Again, Angel of Light Angelica being a very strong, powerful unit right now, and her being in a very aggressive team composition also makes our life a little bit harder, right? So definitely a lot of things going for us, but you know, we always have the chance to resist some debuffs. We do actually resist quite a few. And we are actually going to soul burn with the Ross to try to get some cycling in and start getting rid of some of the units that could potentially mess our day up later on. So we do see the Luna, and she does come in with some pretty good damage. You do see the little bit push up that she has going for her. We don't really have a lot that we can do, so we're just gonna provoke here the Langer Angelica. We do get the dual attack with the Ross, which is super nice. Here that Landy is gonna start ramping up the rest of his team. We won't get to do much with our Landy in a second, because he is going to be S3 here, giving his team that nice little barrier that he can get here. So we are going to be locked out for a good amount of time, but we are actually able to S3. So hopefully it's just a matter of just trying to survive through all that burst, you know, get our skills going and get our movement. So we're actually going to be doing S1s. All right, and he did end up actually... We're just going to do the S1 here. We didn't get the big S1 that we needed, but we are going to just do it right there. So we are going to lose Ross here, which is quite unfortunate. But let's see if he's actually able to do it. So it actually doesn't end up killing any of our units, right? So he'll have to take a couple more turns where he just kind of chills and just S1s us while we get more advantage. He might go on the Ross here so that we're not able to S2, which is what he should honestly do. He doesn't get the silence though, which is pretty big. I don't think he kills anyone here, honestly. big S1 there to try to take away the provoke. I don't think Ross makes it to the next turn, so we're not gonna be soul burning this skill here. But we are gonna be getting a couple of S1s here and there. We do get another S1 that's just gonna give us more advantage, but he does end up blocking a lot of the skills that we could have done there. Very, very annoying on that end with all the different ways to actually stop us from getting our advantage going. We are gonna soul burn here to try to hit the Landy and potentially do some damage onto him. So we do get that big damage, and now let's try to get it onto this Landy. We do get a pretty good hit on the Landy and on the rest of the team. We are going to take a lot of damage from this Strasse though. It most likely is going to be up to our Luna to try to finish up this match, which honestly is going to be very, very tight. So let's hope that we can actually push through. He should S2 here, which will give him some damage. Hopefully we get a counter with our units. We don't get a counter. He can finish off the Ross. Oh, so he ends up going straight for the Luna, but he does not actually get the kill on her, which is actually pretty significant. We are going to be able to take out this Landy right here, and we are going to attack with the advantageous element. We sadly don't have the extra damage on this, so we're not going to be able to do too much from it. So we do kill, we do get some healing, which is what we needed, right? I just don't know if it's going to be enough. He decides to go on the Fallen Cecilia instead of on the Luna, probably to not trigger a counterattack. Still going on our Fallen Cecilia, does not get enough. And I think Luna might actually be able to close out this game. So we are going to just try to finish up the Strasse here. We get good damage and a ton of healing. Oh my goodness, Luna is popping off this game. Oh man. Yep, and that's going to be it for Bruiser Luna. Again, she just was able there to survive, and we're just going to get another soul burn here for another big damage S1, right? And it's going to be too much for him at this point. Yep, and there it is. That is going to be Sigurd Scythe, Bruiser Luna. Again, that anti-crit is so helpful in actually surviving in long fights, and it actually makes Luna such a good unit. As you guys saw, we were able to cycle a lot. The counter gave me that extra advantage that I needed to actually to actually warrant the counter set. And made her a lot scarier to actually go into, as well as the Sigurd Scythe, her always being able to be in the 50% range, surviving and doing a bunch of damage. But that is going to be it for the Bruiser Luna. Now let's move over to the Speed Luna. Alright, so for this next build that we're going to be showcasing, it is going to be the Speed Luna. This is most likely the Luna that I would be using for PvE as well as for cleaving in PvP. Now, you can actually use her in RTA as well as Arena as well as in Guild Wars, but for the PvP section, we're going to mostly be doing Guild Wars for her, so you get a pretty good idea on what she's supposed to do. It's nothing too crazy, just hopefully it gives you a solid plan on, oh, that's what you can use Luna for, and you can kind of go off of that, right? So it's nothing really crazy. Not going to be using her in RTA because I don't have a proper team built around her to actually showcase. But again, the only difference between her, this, and the counter, one is that you have way more speed on this one, and ideally you have way more damage. Now my gear is not the best for aggressive type units like this, so she has okay crit damage. It could be much higher. I've seen some with over 300 crit damage, right? But it does the job, and it is amazing for PvE. So we're going to showcase this one a little bit in PvE, as well as in Guild Wars, so you get an idea of what she can actually do. So with that, let's go over. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, as far as Draco Plate, why Draco Plate? Well, you get a big damage increase, so you're able to actually cleaver with her pretty good, since you do get that massive crit damage boost, as well as also giving her some survivability, right? Because you're not always going to be killing the enemy with your one shot, right? That doesn't always work out the way you want it to. So in scenario that does end up happening, you're actually able to survive a couple of hits, right? So that's the idea behind that one, especially also for PvE. But with that, let's actually go over to the other showcases. Okay, so we unfortunately originally messed up with the last showcase we were gonna do, so we're not gonna be able to use Amelia, but instead we'll use Oxlots, who's on super scuffed gear. But hopefully this gives you an idea on the damage that Luna can actually end up doing. So for this one, we're actually just going to be using a standard Bazaar style team composition. As we mentioned, we're pretty tanky, so I know we're going to be getting counterattacked almost every time, but that's going to be okay because we still are going to be over. That's why Draco Plate is such a nice artifact on Luna. We are going to be pushing up with Luna. And what's going to end up happening is we're actually going to kill the Landy because we have that elemental advantage, and we'll get an extra turn and kill the Rem off of that, or at least try to kill the Rem off of that. So we get the big kill on the Landy, and now we're going to soul burn and do big damage onto the Rem. And as you see there, we weren't able to quite get the damage, but that's just because I am missing quite a lot of damage on my Luna. But again, it gives you a pretty good idea on what you could do if you had a proper Luna build. I honestly think Portrait of the Saviors would work much better for what I'm trying to do here, just because Portrait of the Saviors would actually have gotten the kill, right? Sadly, I won't get a proper showcase for you guys, since I did also mess up the other one because I was super boosted and picked the wrong unit and accidentally clicked the wrong button. But ideally, this is the same idea, except you would have Portrait of the Saviors for yours instead of Draco Plate. That's a recommendation I actually would switch to. Draco Plate seems to not be able to do enough damage. Portrait of the Saviors would have given us that little bit of extra damage to be able to actually one-shot that Rem and effectively beat that team. So that kind of sucks that that showcase didn't work as intended, but at least you get the idea on what she's supposed to do. But with that, let's go over to the PvE side. Alright, because I felt like that Guild Wars showcase didn't do Luna's damage justice, I'm going to do it one more time in Arena so I can actually see how the damage works with Portrait of the Saviors. Again, I will mention that I am missing one Mulagora that would be pretty nice to have on her, but aside from that, this should hopefully give you guys a better idea on how the teams will work. So again, just kind of setting up a attack buff for her. We're actually going to go on the Operator Sigurd first. We are actually going to be taking out the Roana because she's going to be really freaking tanky to deal with later on. So we do have our Operator Sigurd and Portrait of the Saviors. We kill there. We come in. We do a nice little S3. We get attack buff for the rest of our team. We do actually hit the Violet, which is pretty crazy. We're actually going to kill the Fallen Cecilia since she took a bunch of damage from the Operator Sigrid. But you guys will still get to see the damage on the rest of the kit. So ideally, this is just trying to get the extra kill. It will kill most squishy since you attack with advantageous elements. So it does about, like, if you have the extra 10%, it does about, like, 18, and then plus the Portrait, like, it would have probably killed the Champ C, but you'll get to see the S1 follow up here since we got all those souls. We do like 18k, right? So we're able to do two 18ks, and we still keep all the souls for our Spectre Tenebria to just finish off the job, right? So pretty clean, right? Luna does do a lot of damage. It is actually really nice to use. Maybe you want to do one more arena. We'll see. We'll see at the end of the video. But yeah, hopefully that gives you more of an idea on how you're actually supposed to use her. That's just a fun team right now. There's not a lot of fun Cecilia teams that don't have something like a Polides. Which is why I'm not really showcasing her too much. But again, there's a lot of ways to get her attack buff. If I had a fast Operator Sigrid, I could have probably taken her the setup Operator Sigrid into the second team, done the S3, pushed all of them back, right? Set up the Luna, and then just kill the RB twice, or just have an Emo Haste to deal with the RB, right? So, or I would have done S3 onto the Polides, kill the Polides, and then had them an S1, and the Emo Haste would have been able to tank up, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can actually use Luna in Arena, and she actually does do a good job as a cleave type unit. So I found a quick other Arena to showcase the damage again, in case y'all didn't believe it the first time. This time we are going to be doing it on this team right here. Again, Emilia push up that Operator Sigurd set up the rest, right? Since there's no Polides. Again, if there's a Polides, you can do other things, although I would recommend that you do get an attack buff on your Luna, because without attack buff, you're most likely not going to be killing anything. So again, for this one, what we are going to do is first we will get rid of the Seaside Bellona with the big S2. Then we will follow up with the S3 with the Operator Sigurd, which is going to do really good damage, and then you guys will get to see the rest of the combo, right? So we get that. This time we most likely won't be killing the General Purgus, unfortunately. Just because with the Auras there, General Purgus is already a naturally tanky unit. So instead, we will try to go for as much damage as possible. You'll see us get the 10 souls here, because that's just what Luna does. And we'll do the big S1. And the Spectre Tenebria can just clean house with the rest of the team, right? Just the Spectre Tenebria on her own is not going to be able to finish everything off. So again, nice and easy cleave. Operator Sigurd doing a lot of work on FCC defenses. That's just Operator Sigurd being Operator Sigurd though. Again, we'll see there. Boop. And at this point, it's just a matter of us actually finishing off the job. Luna's tanky. This Sten is not really doing anything, right? She's not going to be killing us. It's just going to be an inconvenience that we actually have to sit here and finish it all off. But again, not bad. not the only unit you can have to do the damage, but it does really good single target damage. And you'll see that more when we actually do the PvE showcase. Alright, so last but definitely not least, Luna in the Fire Expedition. So we switched her to have the CR push manipulator, since that's what you need for Fire Expedition. And you saw our skills are off. The one thing about Luna is I'm only showcasing her here in the Fire Expedition. I'm not going to show the full damage that I can do. But it should just still give you a good idea on how you can use her. But what's really cool about Luna is that her S1 does not do any debuffs. So for things like Jubilee Core, for certain Abyss stages, when you need a big single target DPS, Luna's actually a really good contender because of how much single target damage she can do. As well as you see my CR bar is pushing up quite fast, allowing me to exit this weird mode, right, where I can't do a lot. And you'll see me exit it here, and we do huge damage with the S1, right, because Luna's single target damage is just ridiculous, especially when she does the 3 hits. And that was without attack buff, right? So you can imagine if at the end rotation was actually set up properly, we would just be chunking this boss, which is why she's actually so good for Fire Expedition, right? And honestly, all you really need to do for Fire Expedition, for your teammates to not hate you, is to just do like at least 200k, right? But here, I'm just going to stop it so you guys can see how much the S1 would actually do with an attack buff. Yeah, that's a whole 70,000, right? That's a lot of damage. In case you didn't know, that is indeed a lot of damage, right, for an S1. Granted, it is random. You can occasionally get the one that does 1 hit, and you do get that pretty often. But for the most part, I mean, you'll do around 400 to 500k, which is more than enough for Fire Expedition, right? And depending how good your Luluka is, if you're using Tamarine, it can also be a lot higher, right? There's a lot of ways you can inflate the damage that you can do. Again, this is using the speed build that we showcased earlier, but it does a really good job of doing good damage. See, right there, you saw the small hit, but again, it still does pretty good single target damage. But that is going to be it for the Luna showcase. Now we're going to move over to some conclusions. Hopefully this showcase showed you guys what Luna is actually capable of doing and gave you guys an idea of what she can do so that you can better decide whether or not you want to pull for Luna for what she can do. At the end of the day, she is going to be a limited hero with a pretty good artifact on her banner that's not going to be back for quite some time. So if you have the bookmarks, it's always a good thing to do. But keep in mind that Landy is coming next week, and you absolutely need to have summons for Landy. That is a non-debatable one. As much as I love Luna, if you really want to progress your account and get stronger, Landy is definitely a better option. But if you do have extra resources, going for Luna is not a bad option, because we saw she's quite versatile. She can actually fit into a wide variety of teams, Bruiser, speed, and she can actually function really well in PvE with the S1 and the S3, since they do have a lot of versatility, as well as having a lot of build paths. As you guys saw, she's actually a really fun unit. So at the end of the day, kind of to summarize this whole video, Luna is a limited waifu unit who is really fun to play, but there are units that can replace her in certain content. So that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and if you are pulling for her, good luck to you. But that's all I got, and I will see you next time. Peace!